This video is designed to demonstrate the use of the tool for assessing statistical capacity results calculator, also known as a TASC Results Calculator. This helps the administrator compile and generate the assessment results in the form of informative tables and charts that can be used in a presentation to the National Statistical Office, also known as the NSO, or other stakeholders.
Before you fill in the TASC Results Calculator, you should have collected all the filled individual and group answer sheets. The Results Calculator is an Excel tool with multiple sheets. There are 10 fillable sheets that relate to the 10 modules of the task. The administrator will be entering the responses from the answer sheet onto these 10 fillable sheets.
The remaining sheets or tabs in the TASC Results Calculator are designed to automatically populate as the data are entered in the 10 sheets. The 10 fillable sheets are institutional capacity, census and survey planning and management, mapping, sampling, questionnaire content and testing, field operations, data processing, data analysis and evaluation, data dissemination, and publicity. So let me demonstrate how to fill the responses.
Let's open the sampling module. You will observe that there are only limited columns where one can enter data. First, it is important to distinguish between the answer sheets that were group responses and those that were individual. You will notice that there is space to enter data for up to 3 groups per module, though the chances one will have 3 groups for any module are quite small. Most NSOs will have only 1 or 2 group answer sheets per module. There is space to enter the data for up to 15 participants in the individual answers area. Again, it is rare that an NSO will have 15 individuals that are experts in any module. I will now enter mock data from NSO participants who answered the sampling module to demonstrate. Start entering the responses in the appropriate column, 1 sheet at a time. I will start at item 4.1
and end at 4.12 in the Group 1 column.
Whether you choose to enter group or individual first is not important. Please notice that there are breaks in the rows to accommodate the subsection headings. You cannot enter data there, and so it'll skip over those cells. Once you've answered all the group data, you will proceed to enter the responses given by individual staff who responded to the sampling module. So now we will look at a filled TASC Results Calculator.
I'm going to walk through every page of the spreadsheet to show you where the data were entered and then how the charts get populated at the end of entering the data.
So the first module is institutional capacity. And as you will notice, we have individual scores here. For institutional capacity, there seem to have been 4 individuals who filled their individual answer sheet. And then they came together as a group and answered 1 group answer sheet. And as you will see, these 2 columns just self-populate based on the data in these 2 sections of the spreadsheet. So it averages out the group score and it averages out the individual score. Let's just walk through it. Census and Survey Planning and Management module, we again see there were 4 managers that seem to have answered it individually, and then they came together as a group and answered 1 group answer sheet. This NSO seemed to have 3 people who did mapping, and so they answered the mapping module individually, and then came together as a group and answered the mapping module. Sampling, this NSO had only 2 sampling experts, and so you see only the 2 columns. Questionnaire content and testing. We have 5 individuals who participated, and then they came together as a group. Moving on to field operations, you will notice that this NSO had brought in 11 people who worked in the field. So we had responses for 11 individual answer sheets. And they very well could have broken up into 3 groups because 11 is a lot of people, but they chose to come together as one group. And so you have only one group answer sheet. Moving on, this is the data processing. Again, here there were 11 people who were data processors at this NSO, and they came together as one group and answered one answer sheet. Then data analysis and evaluation, there were 8 subject matter experts, as you can see, and they came together as one group, and we have their scores. Moving on to data dissemination, there seem to have been 4 dissemination experts who answered this. Finally, publicity. This NSO had 2 publicity experts, and they came together and answered one answer sheet. Now, the next module is also fillable, and it's the administrative records module. But this NSO did not use administrative records for their statistics production, and therefore this was left blank. Module 11 is actually not a module that you enter data, as you have learned in the first video. It gathers data from the rest of the modules that pertain to collecting data on a mobile device. It produces a mobile data capture summary score using elements from the other modules. Then we come to the next sheet that self-populates, and this is the summary of scores. All the data that you entered, it summarizes the score. First, it gives you an overall NSO task score. It's separate for operational modules and institutional capacity just because the way it's broken down. For instance, institutional capacity is broken down into 5 subsections: legal environment, data confidentiality and protection, organizational structure, human and physical capital, and stakeholder coordination. And it really, institutional capacity impacts all other areas. The operational modules are broken down into 4.
Every operational module has a section of items on human and physical capital, methodological soundness and international standards, quality assurance, and written procedures and documentation.
This sheet gives you tabular data on all the modules that you entered.
The Table Module Score tab produces an overall score for institutional capacity, overall score for planning and management, overall score for mapping, etc. And it breaks it down by individual aggregate scores and group scores.
Next tab takes this same data and produces a chart. This is a chart that breaks down the institutional capacity. Again, you have seen this in the tabular format, and this is the chart format, broken down by group and then individual. Here is a page that actually uses the data from those tables and again represents them in a chart format. And so when you make a results presentation, you have a choice between using tables or charts, or perhaps both, depending on what makes for better visual representation and understanding. So these are group charts. And then these are based on individual average scores. And of course, there will be some difference between the two. And you as a facilitator will have to decide whether the group score represents the NSO better than the aggregate individual scores. In our experience, it generally does, because people come together as a group and then they realize they have better knowledge of their practices. And the final tab is the subsection scores for the operational modules. So this is overall operations of the NSO. This is their human and physical capacity across operations, their percentage in terms of methodological and soundness and international standards, quality assurance, and written procedures and documentation. So here is the group and here's the individual. The next tab is just an answer sheet tab, which is generally not used when you're actually entering data. And then we have a tab that details the acronyms that have been used through the task. For inquiries and additional information, please contact the International Program Center of the U.S. Census Bureau. Here is the physical address and the email address. And with that, we end our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
The U.S. Census Bureau's TASC was sponsored by the United States Agency for International Development.